Hello and welcome, Xbox Nation, to the new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and folks, we have an incredible show for you today. Lots of big news to get into, but before we do, I just want to make another announcement. I talked about it last night on Primetime Gaming. The fourth show that you know and love, that you've been asking potentially to come back for Double Barrel Gaming, is returning this Thursday. What I've decided to do is, because video production is not only time consuming, but it doesn't pay a lot of dividends. You have to learn where your strengths and weaknesses are. And I am better suited behind the microphone talking to you folks live rather than trying to spend sometimes upwards of 10 hours to put a video together that many people may or may not even take a look at. So instead of doing weekly X vlogs like I was doing, I decided to kind of turn it on its ear, and I am bringing a new program called XVlog Live, and it's going to be one-on-ones with some of the industry's biggest and finest. And the first episode is this Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I got the one and the only Jez Corden of Windows Central to sit down with me for 60 minutes to kind of talk about a lot of what's going on in Xbox land. And I'm going to continue bringing in the big guests. I've reached out to Jeff Grubb. I've reached out to a few others, and I'm going to see if I can get a big guest each and every week. And obviously, the subject matter will change based on the guest specifically, but more so the world of Xbox gaming. And that's going to be a weekly program. That will be the fourth live show. So you're going to get live shows Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And I can't wait to sit down with Jez. I have a bunch of questions. He already has the script, and I'm looking forward to talking with him. And you know what? I want to bring in first on our panel, Boxenberger. First of all, you had Jez Corden on last week, and man, oh man, talk about hitting pay dirt. It could not happen to a better content creator. You got picked up by numerous publications because obviously Jez does what Jez does, and he dropped some major information onto your site. I hope that it paid off, where you got people now to swing in and not only check out your incredible videos that are Colt Eastwood level, but they check out your weekly podcast, which I thought you've been doing a great job on. Welcome to the program, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was awesome last week to have Chess on the World of Gaming, my weekly podcast airing each Thursday, and we had a discussion about the Xbox game roadmap, where we talked about basically all the announced Xbox games and what Chess thoughts are about the release date, his expectations for the games. And it, like you said, it got picked up by a lot of news outlets. It was awesome. Unfortunately, right after the show, I got a man flu. Man, I was down the entire weekend. So if you hear some sneezing or anything during the show, I apologize up front. But my voice is coming back, so I was able to record the voiceover for the next video that is obviously delayed because of that. So yeah, but now I'm looking forward to a great show. We have some cool topics to talk about, and man, I'm back on the podcast with VJ. I haven't been that in a while, so excited for today.
Yes. So VJ always bringing it 100, and obviously that information that he always brings to the table is great, and which is why he is now a part of the Tuesday edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. But let's continue in on the introductions. Matt, first of all, brother, welcome back, and how the heck are you? How's the family, and what you got going on for us?
Doing good, man. Just working, getting stuff done around here. I've been playing some King of Fighters 15.
Oh man, I gotta get that. I forgot it even came out. Good. I heard it's amazing.
It is. It's so good, man. It's so good. That's what I was most excited about that release this week, and so I've been super pumped, and it's living up to everything I hoped it could be. So I've been playing that, just getting stuff done, working, and having fun, man. We had a crazy show the other night. We were doing a live stream thing for like the big Capcom announcement, right? It was supposed to be something really cool. Street Fighter 6 ended up getting announced. We had a really fun show doing that. Other than that, man, it's just same old, same old. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you over here. Real quick, I normally don't like to read trolley comments,
Yes.
but I got to call somebody out here because obviously you get one shot with me, and you usually get even a less shot with Lethal Papa, who's probably in the chat. Jedi Johnny says, "Are you guys going to tell people not to buy Gran Turismo 7 on PlayStation 5? LOL, grown men complaining about $10." Well, here's the thing, brother. I don't know when you found this channel or how you found the channel, but we do not cry. We do not complain. It's all about positivity here. Even knuckleheads like yourself are allowed to kind of hang around and, listen to the show if you want. What I will not stand for are quippy comments that basically are provocative. So here's the thing. You can hang around. You throw any more comments out there that I find or I deem to find to be, insulting the people that come here every week to watch the good show, you're out and you're going to get banned. If you're a PS guy, that's fine because so am I. And I can guarantee you that I probably have more PlayStation stuff than you do. And I have an Xbox show. So just keep it 100 and you can stay. But if you act like an a-hole, then you're going to get bounced. Anyway, let's continue in.
And by the way, I'm super hyped for Gran Turismo. I'm
actually not. I could care less about Polyphony. They haven't put out a good one in years. And I'm not spending $76.43 here in New York for a game that is probably going to be mediocre at best. I'd rather go and play Dirt. To be honest,
it's that classy jazz music, man.
We'll see. We'll see if the classic jazz music
can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, listen. This is you know what? This is exactly why PlayStation needs to adopt day and date like Game Pass. So I can pay for the service, whatever it is, $15-20 a month, and I don't have to spend money on games that would be questionable. Because I know for a fact that I haven't been serious about a Gran Turismo since like the PlayStation 2. When when it was cool to go out and get those licenses, right? I haven't cared since. And Polyphony, well, they just when you have Playground Games and Turn 10 Studios making quality world-breaking racers, Polyphony has fallen off severely and they have not come back. So they won't be getting my near $80. But anyway, let's continue in. Pong Soul, you and Steel Rain, what a show on Saturday. My goodness. I was telling you, I was listening to it as I was doing the chores today, and man, good stuff all around. How are you, bro?
Doing great. The weather is frightful here, so we got a blizzard going on.
But I'm jealous. I am.
Yeah, I know
jealous.
you are. I always like to do that.
It's raining here in New Rochelle, New York. It sucks.
we're getting about 6 to 10. So yeah. So it's definitely white outside right now. But you know where it doesn't snow? Boom, outside of Speculation Town. It also does not snow in Night City. And boy, oh boy, am I back into Cyberpunk.
You just opened up a bad wound for me because before you got on, I was telling the guys that for today's show, I spent an hour and 10 minutes recording incredible 4K footage for today's show. And somehow either I erased it or it disappeared.
Oh,
I'm devastated. I'm actually in the hotel right now with the little spider bot and I have the whole hour is gone. So I'm devastated, but I got to tell you.
Yep.
I picked that up before Horizon, which I'm quite enjoying. But I've been getting a lot of bugs with Horizon, and I've seen a lot of stuff about lost saves and bricking of consoles, and they're going to address it. Obviously, I'm talking about Guerrilla Games. So what I may do is put that to the side for a bit until I get confirmation of some new patches and go back to Cyberpunk because I am absolutely enthralled with that game.
I'm glad you found it, Boom. I know you were one of the ones that waited for this patch. So
I sure did.
I'm so happy to see my timeline filling up again with Cyberpunk because obviously I've been on that train since day one, never wavered. It's my favorite game of last gen, even though I cheated and played on current gen. But at the same time, it's absolutely just a fantastic, fantastic game. I'm so so happy that so many people are finding it. So that's what I've been spending a lot of my time in. Also some Dying Light 2 as well. But yeah, no, we got some great topics. It's great to be here with all my brothers, obviously being here today. So let's get down to business, Boom. Let's talk some gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get to that momentarily, but let's get in the last, but certainly not least. VJ, welcome back to the program. The linguist himself, the biggest brain in the panel for sure. How the heck are you, man? And have you had your spot of tea?
I'm going to make a cup of tea after this intro, but good morning, everybody.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm stuck in a cupboard with this line and this witch, and they sort of afford me all my best thoughts. But anyway, I'm ready for the show, Boom. And as I said, good morning to everybody, and should be a good one.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be a great one. And you know what? I want to open up with something that a lot of the big sites overlooked. A lot of the podcasting community didn't really dive deep into. Last week, friend of the program, friend of the community, Benji Sales, dropped some very interesting and important information regarding total players for Xbox first party games that he put out there for us to take a look at. And there are some impressive numbers, and it's pretty incredible to see that most of these games that were poo-pooed when they first came out seem to have big numbers following them. And it only proves that if Microsoft is one of the companies or the few the publishers that give their IPs a chance to breathe. And the numbers are impressive, and we're going to break that down right now. Sea of Thieves, since its inception, 25 plus million players. Halo Infinite saw since its launch in late November, early December for both campaign and multiplayer, 20 plus million players. Forza Horizon 5 has cracked 18 plus million players. That is incredible. Minecraft Dungeons is 15 plus million players. And Grounded, the game that was created by a handful of developers, it has cracked 10 million players. Pong, I want to go to you first on these numbers. Okay, now these games, Halo and Forza removed, in a whole, in a package, may not be the biggest flash in the pan for a lot of players. And I understand, because as much as I appreciate and love what Rare has done with Sea of Thieves, and for instance, to find folks at Obsidian who brought us Grounded, those games are not for me. But to see the success makes me happy, because that means that other people, Xbox gamers, are enjoying it. What does it say to you, seeing these impressive numbers before we get Fable and Avowed and Perfect Dark and Hellblade 2? Is the light at the end of the tunnel for Xbox gamers and big numbers something that we can expect at maybe this year, next year, and even 2024?
So Boom, Pong had to step away.
Oh,
for a second.
so
Yeah,
why don't you take it,
put that in
brother?
the chat.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's just a sign of things to come with Game Pass, right? That's the quintessential thing, because you don't see sales numbers touted as much anymore, right? You see player counts and engagement, right? And also, we don't really ever know what the sales counts are with digital sales anyway. So when you see the engagement, and because all of these games are meant to be service based, where they're getting updated constantly over the years, right? I think that's kind of what their plan is with all of their biggest franchises. Keeping the engagement going with supporting the games for the long haul, and you're going to keep seeing these numbers grow as a result. So it's not in this old school style of you release the game, it sells, you have a big engagement, it drops off, start making the sequel, you release it, rinse and repeat, right? Now you see these games like Sea of Thieves, Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5, Minecraft Dungeons, Grounded, that are going to consistently get these updates and grow the engagement over time. And they're going to take that to Forza Motorsport. They're going to take that to a lot of these franchises. Fable, I agree, could also very well be that. Hence why, another reason why it could just be called Fable. Not just that it's a reboot, but because that could be a world in which we live in for a really long time, right? So I really think they're onto something with this, especially in a service like Game Pass, where you pay one subscription fee and you get access to all of these. right? It's a really good thing. I'm excited what they could do in the future with these other acquisitions on these other games that they're investing in, and like Call of Duty and some of these Blizzard franchises as well. How are they going to be able to support all of these and grow the engagement over time? Because we're at, would you say 25 million for Sea of Thieves right now?
Yes, 25 million.
What I mean, the more Game Pass subscribers, the more people invest in the Xbox ecosystem, that's just going to go up. So we're going to see that increase over time to 30, 40, 50 million, I bet. And the same thing with Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite's not even season 2 yet.
Yeah.
Right. Once season 2 drops, with all the extra content, they add modes, they add the co-op and back into the campaign. You get all of these other things. You're gonna see the player count get re-engaged and re-engaged and re-engaged and increase every time we see any of these games drop big content. So it's exciting time to be invested into that ecosystem, and it's just gonna get better from here, I think.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm excited to see what happens with the Xbox brand specifically when we start to see like the big AAA bombs roll out.
Mhm.
And it's going to be very interesting. Boxenberg, let's get your opinion on this, brother. These are big numbers, and like I said, maybe they are a lot of the games I don't play. I play Halo, right? There's no doubt about that. I obviously play Forza, which I'm like a level 116 now, which is just a masterpiece. And like Mav just reiterated, with Halo not having its second season, that's supposed to come in May. We haven't even had the first DLC drop for Forza Horizon 5, which we don't even know what that's going to be. I hope that it is a return to Hot Wheels. That would be pretty dope because that's probably one of my favorites of all time. For you as a content creator, that is, you talk about the numbers on the back end of many of you, of not only your new podcast, but of the videos you do. Is this impressive? Is this what Xbox fans have been waiting for Microsoft to kind of break out and do?
Yeah, it's definitely impressive. If Mav already said it. Player numbers are basically the new metric
Yes.
with which you can measure the success of a game, especially returning players, and that's what drives the revenue, bringing players back in all over again every time. We've seen a couple of games fall off in the player count, and to be honest, Halo is one of them.
Yep.
I found stuff like Grounded very impressive. That small games that haven't even released fully properly yet. The release 1.0 isn't out yet, yeah, and we don't know whether it will come out this year. And they have already reached 10 million players. That is super impressive. The player numbers for State of Decay 2, and even for a Horizon 5. Forza Horizon 5, I find that very impressive. Having 18 million players in a racing game. Obviously, those are not concurrent players, and a lot of them just jumped into the game, tried it out because it was available in Game Pass. But guess what? That's actually the thing. You just check the game out, and suddenly you end up liking it, and that's the only reason why you can get such high player numbers. It's impressive to see. It is definitely something we will see continued from Microsoft. We know that they have the plan for Halo for like 10 years with a 10-year plan. Although people, it's no secret, I'm not happy that they take so long to bring additional content. I think it's too long. But nevertheless, they have a 10-year plan, and we will see other games continue in that live service, ongoing kind of genre. Mav mentioned Fable. I don't know whether it's going to be Fable. I'm pretty sure Perfect Dark will be something like that. But yeah, it's great to see, and with the latest acquisitions, especially something like Call of Duty, we will going to see this continue to happen.
Yeah.
I still think Microsoft is going to turn Call of Duty into an ongoing live service kind of thing, where they just add every year the multiplayer parts, and then have the teams develop the campaigns in a 2 or 3 year cycle and just
Yes,
drop
I hope
them
so.
in.
Yeah, give
So,
these guys a
and
break.
exactly. And the reason why they do it are these numbers. It is because it is a successful model to bring people back into a certain game, to have this big player base that comes into your game regularly. And that's just something that fits perfectly into a subscription service like Game Pass. So yeah, very impressive numbers.
Yeah, Pon, welcome back, brother. Listen, want to grab your ear. We're talking about the big numbers that were announced last week by Benji Sales, and of course, you know, I like I was saying in the interim, a lot of the big sites kind of overlooked it. No one was really talking about it. I don't know if you made a mention on it. I think you guys, you and Steele might have made mention of it, and it's worthy of another conversation because these numbers seem to indicate that Microsoft is on the cusp of really dominating the player base in regards to Xbox. And every one of these games are in Game Pass. And we haven't even seen the release of Avowed and Fable and Hellblade 2 and a multitude of other games that are going to introduce people into these big open worlds, some of which we don't know if it's going to add multiplayer or not. Sea of Thieves, 25 million, Halo, 20 million, Forza, 18 million, Minecraft Dungeons, 15 plus million, and Grounded, which was made by 13 people, if you didn't know, 10 plus million players. For you, what does it say for Microsoft's first party?
Well, first of all, Boom, I lambasted my owner of my work for calling me during the podcast.
How dare they?
Interrupting us.
How dare he?
Yeah.
James.
You know, so you know what? Sorry about that. Hey, listen, as far as this goes, these numbers, this is exactly what Microsoft and Xbox had planned when they introduced Game Pass. Now, it's taken them obviously a while to get everything set up to be where they wanted to be, but this is the power of Game Pass, right? So you've got content that keeps people engaged for a very long time and content that continuously gets updated as the years go by. Instead of stopping and developing a brand new title or a sequel to a successful title, you've just got this ongoing game that you can continue to update. Not all of these games are that way. Obviously, Forza Horizon being one that we do seemingly get sequels to on a regular basis, right? However, it's certainly possible now that we hear Motorsport is probably going to more of a games as a service style, that eventually Horizon does as well. Maybe even getting folded into Motorsport, and it just becomes a Forza hub or a Forza world in which we have two separate, distinct kind of experiences. But this Game Pass needs these types of games. We just heard Jim Ryan talk about they're developing 10 games as a service. Why? Because they have Spartacus coming. And this is one of the key. Yes. You still need diversity of content. You still need your single player one and done experiences. You still need all of those types of games in there as well. But this is what keeps people subscribed to your service. So for Microsoft and Xbox to be seeing this kind of success, right, it is truly a culmination of everything that they started to do and the goals that they set out for Game Pass. And again, it's taken a bit of time because this is a big undertaking to go ahead and get done, but they've done it, right? Also, I think this goes to show, especially in the terms of Grounded and Sea of Thieves, right? Two of those titles. This is what happens when you let creators create and you support them.
Great points,
right?
Great points.
And you give them the freedom that they have a vision.
Well, you also let them stick with it because Sea of Thieves was a long grind.
That's what I was just going to say, Boom, that you
where
have
they were to where they are now is it's an incredible story, and it proves that Rare still has that magic.
Correct. And that's the important thing, is that sometimes when it comes to these developers, their vision isn't always fulfilled out the gates. And we saw that with Sea of Thieves, right? And we saw that with Grounded. Grounded started slow too because they didn't have, their vision was still coming together about where they wanted to take Grounded. Now they've introduced RPG elements to it, which is one of Oblivion's fortes, right? So that's what happens if you give these creators the time and support and resources to follow through till the end. And now you're seeing that success. Not everyone is going to happen that way, but this is the possibilities when you allow that to grow. And that's what Xbox is doing with all of these studios underneath their umbrellas. They're letting them flourish, right? And that's what we love to see. How many projects throughout the decades have we heard become vaporware that weren't allowed to come to fruition because they couldn't justify putting in the resources? Well, when you've got something like Game Pass and you've got the subscriber base that is bringing in this continuous monthly money over time, you're allowed to let projects like those happen. And not only happen, but you continue to give them the care and love that they need to become the final version of what they started out as. And I think that that's what we're seeing specifically in those two games. But again, this is the power of Xbox. This is the power of Game Pass. When you get a subscriber base like this, you get this many people engaged. This is one of the reasons why people aren't canceling their subs. This is one of the reasons why people are waiting on the next announcements. And in the meantime, oh, by the way, so I've played the games that I want to play, but I've still got all these games that are living worlds that I can continuously go back to with my friends or by myself and go back and enjoy while I'm waiting for the next home run to come out, right? That's what you need. That balance is there. This is huge numbers. These are great. These are only going to continue to grow. Think about when Game Pass starts hitting 50 million, 70 million subscribers, what these numbers are going to look like for a lot of these games. And guess what? It's a great advertisement for all those third-party publishers when they're looking at these numbers going, we could be that next Sea of Thieves. We could be that next Grounded. We don't have our own subscription service, but you know what? The best one going right now is Game Pass. Let's get our game in there and see what happens. And that's what we've seen. Ubisoft just did it with Rainbow Six Extraction, right? They did it. They now just, I think they surpassed 5 million? 5 million people played it already. That's what happened. So again, great numbers for Xbox. Love to see it. This is part of their plan, and it's working right now, seemingly to perfection. So let's keep going.
Perfect point. May I add something here?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
You talked about it being great for all these games and offer making up new opportunities for developers. It's also a big opportunity and chance for Game Pass as a service itself, because if you have such a subscription service, you don't want people to just subscribe to your service for one game, that one and done game, and then cancel the subscription again. It is also a chance to have these kind of games to keep people in the subscription service. So great point, Pong.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a fantastic point. It's funny because both, if you look at what Microsoft has been doing, Sony is following suit, except they're doing it in reverse. Microsoft has always been known as the multiplayer console, whereas Sony has always been known as to have those incredible single-player, story-driven content, which is, again, what a lot of people like myself own a PlayStation 5 to experience. Well, they have their service games coming out, and those 10 service games that are currently in active development, one of those, I hope, at least for me anyway, being an OG fan, I hope one of those titles is SOCOM. I think that would be huge for their I think it's PlayStation Infinity. I think that's what the official name is. And when that does in fact release, again, you hear different things, as content creators, we all have our little sources, some bigger than others. And one of the things that I've heard is that service was delayed by a couple of months because of the Activision Blizzard deal that caught Sony really flat-footed. I've said that before, and I've had that opinion backed up by numerous people within the industry. They didn't see that coming, and here it is. Microsoft is on the cusp of owning Call of Duty. Bonkers, right? But what that does is, and I hope that it does, we had some leaked information that their service was not going to include day and date. I think that's a horrendous mistake, and I would not sign up for it. I don't care what they were offering. Day and date's the only way I go with another service plan, and I think they know that even waiting 30 days after launch is just not going to cut the mustard. They need to match Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass. And I hope that in fact happens, because then games like Gran Turismo, which I would normally pass on, at least would give it a play because it's in the service that I paid for. But let's get VJ's opinion on this. VJ, these numbers are, you've heard everyone say the word impressive more times than not, and I would be hard pressed to agree. What do you feel that these kinds of numbers do for some of the investments that Microsoft is going to make? Especially on these gas games.
I think you meant disagree, right? I think Pongsol made the point, right, in terms of where Xbox are right now with this service, the trajectory that they're on, and they're posting numbers to say that we're headed in the right direction. And I kind of recall seeing the Halo 20 million tweet a couple of weeks ago. It might have been 3 weeks ago. I can't remember, but I have seen it a little while back. And I said to myself at the time that, this Halo number looks really great. But at the same time, because I'm kind of analyzing it from a business perspective, I'd say, you know what, I'd love to have some more information, and that's probably not going to be made public knowledge, and that's fine, right? And just in order to support these numbers. Otherwise, it's like when I see these tweets, it's not ever giving a really true, clear, or a big picture in terms of measure and trajectory. We can only surmise, right, based on the limited facts that we have on hand. And whether it's Sony, Nintendo, or Microsoft, you see these kind of sort of PR platitude tweets. It's more so to effectively galvanize, fan conviction with a success, value, loyalty sort of inducing metric. But still, maybe it's just me, right? But it's still a sort of inexact perspective. And that's perhaps why, because I was just reading your show notes. I'm sorry, I haven't really caught up that much, and I've got a bit of a headache. So my take may not be that great, but I'll do my best. And that's, I think, one of the questions you asked is that, why hasn't this been sort of covered more, perhaps in the media, and why aren't people talking about it more, or is the word trending? I'm not quite sure, but the Minecraft numbers notwithstanding, and it's probably a world top 5 or top 10 game in any category, right? So, and I'm always seeing, I'm always happy to see, I think, as Pong mentioned, or might have been Mav, in terms of wanting to see Obsidian titles to do well, right? They just have Obsidian just seem to have a special place in everybody's heart, right? And at the same time, the reason why I wanted some more information is that because being an Xbox gamer, right, or an Xbox fan and a Game Pass fan, I kind of want to be more included and be a part of the Xbox journey with more clarity and transparency in tow. And then that would obviously help to lend to giving a more informed or opinion, when you're doing podcasts and so on and so forth. But the thing is, if I start to push really hard, right, in terms of investigating the numbers, right, and the real commercial value of those numbers, right, or put out a tweet, right, you're going to have those guys out there that are going to start posturing that squeaky thing between their legs. And for me, tens of millions of players are fine, but I'd really love to know, sort of in terms of, is that sort of 85 million number? How many of those are actually unique users, right, and not just the 25 million Game Pass subscribers sort of playing all of those 5 games because they were so well spaced out in terms of release date, right? But my mind starts to veer to, and I'm just going to be honest here, veers towards like, okay, so that's the culmination of downloads, right? The 85 million number, right? But were they minor impressions? Were they tried and tested for an hour before they switched to another game? Or did some players, go a step further and enjoy these, games to their fullest? And I have 3 of those 5 games I've pretty much completed, right? And I enjoy them immensely. And that could perhaps lead you to surmise that to some degree that a smaller audience is engaging with several first-party titles, i.e., the same player engaging with with all 5 titles, and the numbers are still really impressive, and they're still really, really, really great, right? And it's a fantastic foundation in order for Xbox to launch itself, right, wherever it wants to go to over the next 5 to 10 years, especially via Game Pass and the subscription numbers. But as I say, how many of those 85 million players were unique players? And also, in terms of how many of them embarked on retail unit sales, as Mav mentioned, which I think is an important metric, which I wish we knew more about. And I think that would definitely be a far more important metric and something to discuss if the figure is well beyond the Game Pass subscriber number. It's probably just a wish that I have that probably won't be granted, but you kind of get the sense of where I'm kind of taking this, and the information, if we had on hand, would really make for a fantastic and probably a really interesting topic. That's it.
Look, here's the thing. Everyone has had great points, and you know what? I love the fact that Jedi Johnny 5 is still here. Well, you obviously, brother, like I told you before, you're welcome. He asked a question in the chat, and I'll let the panel have a run at it because, and I'll give my piece, respectfully, of course. He says, "I'm just trying to understand you guys and why you love Game Pass so much." I mean, look, here's the thing, dude. I'm 51 years old. I'm retired, right? Now, I used to work overtime for games. That was a thing that I actually did. Guys at the job made fun of me all the time. What you working for? Go to Vegas, go on a nice cruise with the missus, buy a new truck? Nope, I'm working for games. That's what that was my tagline. I'm working to make sure that I can have all the money, all the games paid off by the fall. And that's exactly what I would do. My question to you, Jedi Johnny, is how could you not like Game Pass? I mean, again, I'm not being facetious or even the jerk. I'm just saying that the inherent value at $15 or $10 a month for the multitude of games that have every genre covered, every A is there, your triples, your doubles, your singles, and your indies, all in there, and a lot of them day and date. Microsoft has gotten some big games in there day and date. And again, if it doesn't appeal to you because you're loaded, and maybe that in fact is the case, that dude, I'm a congratulator, not a hater. So if you want to buy your games outright and you have the money for it, that is awesome. But I think what Game Pass does, and I think that it is the ideology of Microsoft as a whole, as a company, is making gaming inclusive, making everyone who wants to game, giving them a way to afford to do so. See, again, some people who have money or have money to burn, so to speak, don't understand how someone values Game Pass. But if you have two children in school and you got to pay the rent and your cable bill and it's just one salary coming in, well, Game Pass is a godsend to you because you can still be a part of the gaming conversation with all the new AAA games, specifically just Microsoft alone. But I'll let the panel go at it. Paul, what is your opinion on this?
Well, again, everybody knows, anybody who's listening to me, I'm a budget gamer myself as well. So I wish I had all the money in the world to buy everything, but I don't. I'm also a grazer, which means that any one given time, I'm in the middle of 15 to 25 different titles. I'm not one of those people that only plays a few titles each year. So for the price of Game Pass, which comes out to about 3 new AAA games each year.
$60 a game, correct.
$60 a game, right? So we'll just put it at that. Just make it even for everybody. It's easy. 3 games, and my subscription is paid for itself. So what this allows me to do, on top of all the other games that I get to enjoy in there, that I would have had to make decisions on. And some games I never would have even had a chance to look at because of my budget, right? So for me, this allows me to go in, budget out my year. I say, hey, I get this much for $180, right? And I know I'm going to get all Microsoft first-party titles, Xbox first-party titles in their day and date. Plus, I know there's going to be some third-party titles that I'll have in my budget, but that I get to pull out of my budget and say, hey, I don't need to pay that anymore. That money goes back into the ecosystem by being able to buy other games, whether that's indie titles, whether that's, another third party, AAA game that comes out that I would not have been able to play before. That's the first part of it. The second part,
Elden Ring comes to mind.
Correct. Elden Ring comes to mind, right? That's something that I'm not a Souls player, right? So I'm still making the decision, but this was going to be my final Souls game that I try to get into it, right? Because I love what From Software does. I just don't have the patience to get good. But this game here with the open world, hey, I might try it. Now that allows me to maybe budget that game into it. Also, the ability to go in and try games. Right? I have purchased more games via Game Pass by trying something that I may not have had any interest in previously. and finding out that I really love it. And when that game gets ready to leave Game Pass, and I still haven't finished it because I'm a grazer or because I just want to keep it and I want to keep playing it, I go ahead and have the ability to buy that game. But that has expanded the diversity of titles that I play on a regular basis because of Game Pass as well. Game Pass is a vehicle, okay? It allows a lot of different flexibility and allows you to go and experience new content. Again, is it for everybody? If all you play is Call of Duty and Madden every year, is Game Pass going to be worth it? Probably not, but that's the cool part. It's optional. If you want to own all your games and buy all your games and never use Game Pass, hey, guess what? You can still do that. There's nothing in Game Pass that you can't buy elsewhere. So guess what? It's just an option. But for me, it makes my life easier. It fits my budget. And it allows me to buy other games and try other games that I may never have done before. Also, guess what? If a friend of mine, like let's say Mav, all of a sudden finds a game that's really cool and it's co-op multiplayer, whatever the case may be, he hits me up and says, dude, download this game. It's in Game Pass. Let's try it out. That's what else happens. It's a fantastic, fantastic service. Again, if it's not for you, totally cool. Not a big deal. It doesn't have to be for you. But for me, it's a beautiful thing. It's the best thing that's ever happened in gaming. It's the best value in the gaming, and it has created more enjoyment for me in this hobby that I love. So therefore, it's a win-win at the end of the day.
It absolutely is. But Boxenberg, I want to bring you in on the conversation. Listen, I don't mind Audible, throwing an Audible here, which is what I did. Because of course he's asking an honest question. At least I hope it's honest, and we're going to give him an honest answer. Boxenberger, one of the biggest things for me as a Game Pass subscriber is seeing one of my favorite things about gaming, and that's the indie community, which a big shout out to the indie gamer who's in here. 425 people in this chat. Thank you so much for continuing. I remember we used to have like 10 people in the chat. Now we're up to over 400. Big thank you to everyone. I'm going to get to some of the super chats that have come in. If you're new, consider subscribing. Of course, hitting the like button. But, one of the things that Game Pass does for a lot of these small developers that have these incredible stories, the mom and pop out of the basement, brother and brother hanging out in their garage, putting a game together. A perfect example of how Game Pass does not only benefit us as consumers. Look at that Rainbow game, right? That came out, I think it was middle of last year. Those devs were crying because so many people tried their game because they figured, how are we going to make this game? How are we going to make people download this game? They dropped into Game Pass and they broke records. Crying on their posts because it's a story that gives me goosebumps. Why is Xbox Game Pass always at the center of our conversations, Boxenberger?
Because it is the best value in gaming. It is simple as that. Game Pass offers so much, not just for us gamers, but also, like you said, as a chance for developers. We have seen that Game Pass effect so many times, not just with indies, to be honest. We have seen it with big AAA releases that released in Game Pass, and suddenly they were the thing everyone talks about 2 years after launch or something like that. It gives a chance for everyone. Big developers, small developers have the chance that people actually play their game and go out on social media and talk about that game. We have seen that so many times, and that's just the developer side of things. But the other kind of side of things that I always say is, I always hear the argument when you speak against Game Pass. Oh, but the developers, are they getting paid? And do they make enough money? And think about the developers. You know who else I think about? It is us gamers. It is us, the community, because we work hard for our money too. Believe it or not, everyone here in the community does. And with Game Pass, we get simply a lot of value for our money, and that is an awesome thing. And the other thing that Pong mentioned is basically really the thing that Game Pass or is the cherry on top of that sweet cake that is Game Pass. It allows us to play games with other gamers. And in the sense of how often did I have a game and I thought, man, I want to co-op with somebody, but then I call my buddy and dude, I can't spend $60 now to just play around with you in that game. And then you don't have someone to play. And this is a problem that is basically annihilated now. I have never played more co-op games, more multiplayer games than ever. It is awesome because everyone just gets to play the games without that barrier of $60 to get a game. And so I don't see a reason why you shouldn't like Game Pass, but taste is different. It might not be for everyone, but it most certainly is for me. I love saving money, and Game Pass saves me a lot of it.
I mean, great points, Mav. Let's get your opinion on this. Obviously, you like all of us have talked up Game Pass for good reason, and I want to get your opinion answering the question: why is Game Pass so important, and let alone, and not even that, impressive? Obviously, we put it up on a high pedestal, but I think it's for good reason. What is yours?
Well, for me, the number one reason why it is impressive is because it does have great games in it.
Yeah.
If it was just a bunch of garbage, which seems like the narrative that gets thrown out there and the thing that I see the most, and I became very aware of this on a tweet that I made the other day that kind of like blew up. A lot of the comments in there from, I will say, the uninformed or the trolls or the ignorant is that Game Pass just doesn't have quality games. And that just doesn't make sense to me. And in fact, they take it even further, saying Xbox doesn't have quality games. Now, that's a personal preference, right? Whether you like a third-person action adventure game or you like a multiplayer game or you like whatever, that's all personal preference. You can't say your personal preference means the entire view is the reality. Is your reality is everybody's reality. That's not how it works, right? And it seems like people forget that Game Pass actually has several games in it that won numerous Game of the Year awards last year from most of the biggest media publications out there. IGN's Game of the Year, Game Informer's Game of the Year, XPlay's Game of the Year, the New York Critics Awards Game of the Year. All are in Game Pass. And if you take it even further, the Game Awards Game of the Year is actually in Game Pass. It's not first party, but it's in Game Pass. And another candidate that was also nominated for Game of the Year from multiple people was Deathloop, who is another Xbox first party game that would have been in Game Pass if it wasn't for previous contractual obligations. You also have PC Game Pass. It's another reason I love Game Pass. I don't usually buy games on PC, but they're starting to bring these games to me day one on PC as well. Numerous different types of games that we can only get there, like RTSs, like Company Heroes came there last year. We just got Total War Warhammer 3. We got Age of Empires 4 as well. You got EA, everything in their ecosystem ends up coming in there. There's lots of reasons to love Game Pass. So the whole argument that people make against Game Pass is that it doesn't have quality games. I don't get it. I don't understand it because that's a personal preference. If you look at everything that's in Game Pass and everything that's coming day one, and including everything that they have forecasted to be coming out in the coming years, including this year with Redfall and Starfield and probably Forza Motorsport, and you look at that and say those aren't going to be high quality because your bar is a specific genre, that's ignorance to me. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. Like you can't project your personal preference on the entire conversation of what's quality, right? So,
Well
sorry,
said.
it's great quality games in Game Pass. It's a great value, and if you want to play all of these different things, you get it for a very cheap price. Like games like Forza Horizon 5, my wife had no interest in.
Yeah, I
Right?
love this story. That's a great story because Caitlin, great gamer in her own right, pretty good Halo player, did have any inkling to play Forza, saw you playing it, and there you go.
It's in Game Pass, and we played it together, and she plays it by herself all the time. She loves that game. Loves that game. And the other great thing about Game Pass is that if you want to, you can still buy the games and you get a discount. If you buy a lot of games, right? Which I have a feeling the people that are really against Game Pass actually don't buy a lot of games. They play 1 or 2 games a year, and they're like, I don't really care about paying for a service that has all these games, right? Because people like me, I play a crap ton of games, right? Maybe I don't finish a lot of games because I keep jumping to the next one, but I'm always looking for the next thing, right? I understand there's some people that like only play those like 2 or 3 big exclusives that they're most excited about, and that's all they care about. They buy those, they're happy with it, they replay them over and over and over and over and over again, and that's fine. That's you, right? But you can't say that that's the only way to do things. You know, if you want to buy games in Game Pass, you can, and if you can even use Game Pass purely as a discount service, you can get Game Pass and pay it at $9.99 a month, and you can use it purely to get a discount on buying games, and it will still pay for itself.
Yeah.
It's
You want to hear?
ridiculous, the arguments against it.
But sorry for interrupting, because I have to throw something in here to back up your argument here. I made a video about 4 or 5 months ago about Game Pass being a big game changer, and there are some official numbers from Microsoft about gamers that are subscribed to Game Pass. In average, Game Pass subscribers spend about 20% more time in gaming. They play about 30% more games than gamers that are not subscribed. And now it comes, they spend about 15% more money on buying games than non-subscribers.
Correct. I think that's a great point. And again, listen, we have a lot of big topics to get into. I definitely want to get VJ's final opinion on this, and we're going to move on to topic number 2. But before we do that, I have to catch up on some of the super chats. There's been a ton of them. And of course, I'm extremely grateful. Also, Dusty from the Night Crawlers podcast was awesome enough to donate a 2-month Xbox Game Pass code, which I'm going to be giving away by the end of the show. Dusty, I see you in the chat, brother. Thank you so much for not only being here, but of course donating the code, and we'll be giving that away courtesy of the Night Crawlers podcast. VJ, listen, the guy asked what appeared to be an honest question. Why do we care so much about Xbox Game Pass? What is your response to this?
First of all, respect for asking the question. I wish people ask even the most obvious questions to aid and evolve sort of your own understanding and perspective. And because typically, you know, when you see on Twitter and so on and so forth, minds are usually unstable, neurotic, and conflicted. And only through asking questions and investigating for yourself does clarity and stability come about, right? I personally don't support nor favor Microsoft as a corporation, but I love Xbox. Since being in Game Pass, I completed over 30 games in Game Pass, and games which I never intended to purchase. My gaming, so this in terms, I think what Pong Sol was saying, the developers being paid, my engagement time with those games have inadvertently supported those developers. My gaming habits, the expansion of the types of games that I play, and my outlook as to what games I want to try in the future has grown significantly. So, and that's another benefit that I've found. Look, I'm not a collector anymore, nor am I a hoarder. I happily gave up everything when I moved to the States. But the gentleman's asking, what do I like about Game Pass, right? And, you know, etc. So I found that if you invest, you know, if you just want to look at it purely from a financial perspective and not a gaming perspective, I found that if you invest even a few minutes a day in Game Pass and the Xbox ecosystem, including Microsoft rewards, etc., then you can accumulate enough points to pay for Game Pass each and every month. It's effectively free as of now, right? And things may change in the future. I don't know. Alternatively, you can find deals for Game Pass online nearly all the time, and especially around Thanksgiving and Christmas. You can stockpile Game Pass quarterly or not annually, monthly or quarterly, you know, for a fraction of the price that you pay, you know, if you just paid for it during the off-peak months, right? And you can also choose to accumulate your points. And I've done this, so this is fact, right? I accumulated enough points, probably like many of you people on the panel, and probably the people that are familiar with Game Pass now, and accumulated well over 250,000 points in a year by not doing very much, and that's 4 AAA games for free. So as Boom says, and I think the question is, why aren't you in Game Pass? And I think ultimately it's a very rewarding, just to add on to what Boom said, it's ultimately, for me, and this is my perspective, it's a very fair, rewarding and equitable as a service, given where I'm in my point in my gaming life. So, and I prefer to spend my dollars on family and aiding friends. And I'll close by saying that don't be stuck in tradition, in terms of, supporting one format over the other. We're in a time right now where it's all about the content, and you've got to find where that content is that you love and enjoy and that engages your imagination, because change is inevitable. And Microsoft this time around have decided to change things up in terms of how we consume content going forward, right? It's just the way it is. And as I said, change is inevitable. And if you're against change fundamentally, then you're against life, basically, right? And so what I will say is, don't take my opinion or even the panel's opinion as gospel, right? Because this speaker is only giving you, one perspective, and I would implore you to investigate for yourself, right? Find out for yourself, because you can ask 10 people and they'll give you 10 different opinions, right? And I would suggest that you may discover something really cool and really fantastic, and you might even kick yourself and saying, why didn't I just tap into this earlier? Why did I let my ego, and why did I let my thoughts, and why did I let my prejudices get in the way of me unlocking what may be something you may never look back from?
Great point, dude.
And just to finish off, just to pong really, if you're taking on Elden Ring, and trust me, I'm about, and I'm going to be playing it. I can't wait, and I'm happy to hold your hand, Pong.
Well, that has a multiplayer aspect to it.
Yeah, it's got co-op. Yeah,
I'm going to be reaching out to several people, because the only game that I was ever really good at in Souls was Neo. I put over 60 hours. I got to the last boss.
Impressive.
I couldn't beat him. But that game, it was weird. I played that game like Onimusha, and not a Souls game. And I fell in love with it. I bought the second one. It's sitting here. It's still in the cellophane, bro. It's awful. My backlog, I'm 6 feet, bro. And it's as tall as I am. It's gross. But listen, I got to catch up with some of the super chats. We got to welcome in Mr. Joanna Dark, who's here. We have a couple of topics that I wanted to talk about that kind of got sidelined, which is okay. But we are going to talk about next is Starfield. And Pong, I'm going right to you, because God Howard and the artists there have some new information for us. And I listen, this is turning out potentially to be one of the biggest games this year in 2022, more so the biggest game in a decade for Bethesda, but we're going to get to that momentarily. I got to thank real quick Bold Alpha Wolfpack, my brother. Thank you for being here. He's very, very generous, and once again, he shows his generosity with becoming a channel member. Thank you, definitely appreciate that, brother. But let me catch up with the super chats. The first one of the day comes to us from Sist Lord, our good friend. He says, happy 2/22/22 day. Yeah, I mean, what a day, right? All twos are running wild. And well, hopefully someone gets a good scratch off on today, and you go and you get Game Pass for life. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, Sith Lord, thank you for the generosity, and of course always being here. Drawn TJ drops not one, folks, but 2 super chats of $5. And the first one, he says, hi guys, gonna be a fire show. It will keep me company while working at work. Well, listen, dude, that is awesome. Glad to hear. And he says on the second $5 super chat, Forza needs real location expansions like to Japan, Alaska, or Vegas. Yes, and yes. But here's the thing. I don't want them. Japan is such an incredible region of the world. It is one of the check boxes that I have yet to get to. I want to take Mrs. Boom. I want to experience Japan when she finally retires. That deserves. That region of the world is so rich with culture that it deserves its own game. I hope that the fine folks at Playground Games know that the community really wants a Japan-centric Forza Horizon 6. I think that would be incredible. As much as I would like to get there as a you know, like, hey, we're going to Japan. This is great. I don't want them to not disrespect the region. I think Japan in any game is always going to be a winner for me. I mean, I'm a big fan of that region of the world, but I would love to see Japan get their own game. That's what I honestly would like. We also have Lord Roughness, my good brother, drops an outstanding £5 super chat and says, my 8-year-old son has an Xbox Xbox One S and is only allowed to choose games from Game Pass, and he loves it. And you know something? That's nothing wrong with that, because there are so many games to choose from that he's never without something new to play. Kingfish 737 drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, the cool thing about Game Pass is it allows gamers like me to try games I normally don't try. And that is the big answer. And our good friend Black Sausage, my brother, welcome back. He says this after dropping a $5 super chat. Game Pass has been amazing for me. I've now logged 44 hours into indie title Dreamscaper. Love this game, and it is a mere fraction of the Game Pass value. Indeed. Let's rip the Band-Aid off, folks. Let's get right into Starfield. This is a topic that I think everyone is excited to talk about, specifically Pong Soul. Pong, look, God Howard, as you call him, you and several other people on this panel, and Zemi Games for that matter, have high hopes for this game. This is a game that has been considered by Todd Howard himself as to be the accumulation of 10 years in the making. It is expected to be not only the biggest title from Bethesda proper, potentially might be the biggest launch in his career. This is something that he has wanted, something that the entire team at Bethesda have been crafting over what seems to be almost a decade. And we have new information from lead artist I think it's Istvan Pelli. And he discussed the game's actual art direction in a recent post on the Xbox Newswire. And he describes it to be a NASA meets punk as a coin termed early in the game's development as a way to reinforce a sci-fi universe that's a little more grounded and relatable as opposed to some far-flung fantasy. And here is a quote directly from Pele. Or I think it's Pelli. We wanted a very realistic take. You can draw a line from current day space technology and from there into the future, so it's believable and, more importantly, relatable. Now, we also have some information from lead animator Rick Weissens, where he adds that the idea of a NASA punk specifically was immensely helpful when defining Starfield's actual world. And this is what he had to say. When you said NASA punk, the art team could instantly take those two words and make it work. It was just the perfect term for our art direction and keeping everyone in the same flow and working with a constant style. For me, it just clicked. At the start of the project, I think that term was critical for us. Okay, Pong, take it away, brother. Your most anticipated game of 2022, your most anticipated game from Todd Howard himself. What does this tell? What should this information tell anyone looking forward to 11/22/22?
Well, this is absolutely incredible. I love the term NASA punk. Like he stated, it really gives you a vision of something that is futuristic but grounded in reality. And we've seen this in some of the interviews that they've had, and even their own internal sit down that they had with Todd and the producers of Starfield as well. What you're looking for here is really going to be a game that is not going to be so far flung. It's not going to be like a Mass Effect. Let's put it that way, right? A Mass
Good
Effect
point. Great point.
was extremely far into, the future, really sci-fi, the sci-fi fantasy style of genre. Whereas this is going to be something that you could realistically believe that we could get to a point in humankind's future, that we can actually experience these types of ships, these types of weapons, all of that kind of stuff. And we've heard them talk about how they actually, when they went to go and started designing the game, and this is over 20 years in Todd Howard's head, when they started designing this game, that they artists and the people behind it went and looked at like engineering schematics and try to figure out how things within this world that they're building would actually work in real life, and projecting some future tech to see how they could implement that, but giving it a basis and a grounding in reality, so that they could develop these, all, like I said, the ships, just the different bases, all this different stuff, that it would be something that we could see. So I think that that's a huge part of this, because overall, the overarching kind of idea with this game in Starfield is human search for the answers, and one of the questions they want to answer is, why are we here? So that gives you a scope of what they're looking to try to explore when we're going out here into these different planets, and discovering new places. That's what we're trying to do here. And I think that's what Todd's greatest vision was for this. Again, this is the last genre that he wanted to tackle. That's why he waited so long, is because he wanted to make sure the technology itself with the consoles and the PCs were far enough in advance that he could put this vision down and really, really create and mold it into what he had thought about all those years ago, decades ago at this point. So I think this is a huge, huge deal. I just love the NASA punk. I think we're going to see something where we hop into a space, whether we hop into a ship, and you kind of saw that in the trailer. And it wasn't like we were looking at a holographic deck and people, things that are so mind-boggling. We were looking at real world kind of physics, but just futuristic enough to give us that impression that we are, going someplace new and someplace far flung, right? And I think that's the huge part about this. The sense of exploration in this game is going to be second to none. We really do have the potential here to have those an experience that's once in a generation, that Todd and his A team always seem to find a way to give us. And I think this one right here is going to be the cherry on top of all the Fallouts, the Skyrims, all of them. And I think that this is going to be really, really special. Again, don't forget, Sony had seen what Phil saw and was trying to lock it down as an exclusive deal. That means you're going to get something special,
dude. Okay? A lot of people forget that, Pong. I mean, I don't want to go crazy and reiterating that's the topic, but they tried to make that as not a timed exclusive, bro. Straight up exclusive.
Yep. And when the acquisition was announced of ZeniMax, the one game they talked about all the studios and all the great IP and the tech and all that kind of stuff, but the one game every single executive that was interviewed talked about and mentioned was Starfield. Pure and simple. Again, people forget just how good Bethesda and that A team is. People forget because of things like Fallout 76, which was not the A team, but it did have Todd Howard's name attached to it. They forget just what it means when these games come out. A game like Skyrim that to this day we are still getting iterations and updates on and upgrades on, and they're still putting it out 10 years later. Those types of games don't come along very often from too many studios, but Bethesda is one of those studios. And this Starfield right here, like I said, has the potential to be the once in a generation type game that we've come to expect, know, and love from this man and his best developers. So I cannot wait for this game. 11/11/22. My vacation time is already put in. I am going to be jumping on a spaceship and traveling to who knows where, but I know it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, that's a game that's going to end all games. Like whatever you're playing is, I think most people who are a fan of Bethesda are going to drop it and go right into that, because that's a 500 hour game for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
I put 300 hours into Fallout 3, 300 plus hours into New Vegas. And Skyrim, well, forget about it. I lost count. I love Skyrim, and they're calling this to be Skyrim in space. So yeah, I'm very interested. Boxenberger, let's get your hype levels for what we're talking about here. Now, I know that you had said in the DM that some of this information is a little older, some of it's a little bit newer. For you, as a fan of the genre, what jumps off the page that gets you excited for what's going to be the compilation of the best Todd Howard game potentially ever made?
Okay, first, my hype level is through the roof. Like Pong, I booked already in 3 days vacation. Skyrim is one of my all-time favorites ever. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I made multiple videos on Starfield, even though they never perform well. I just love the game. I am the excitement for it. I can't wait. My hype level is through the roof. Like you said, all the information that actually came out through that interview is really old. There was a big interview with Todd Howard after E3. I made a video on that where he explained already all that NASA punk stuff and a lot more. So I highly recommend to just scroll back in on my channel. The video is still up, because he really talked about not just about that NASA punk and how they wanted to have people or get the feeling that this could be actual reality in a couple of 100 years. They also talked about how they had to figure out stuff like religion for these worlds. What do people believe in 300, 400 years? They couldn't build up the game on established law like Star Trek or Star Wars, where you have already set up and answered these questions. So he talked about that, about stuff like religion, but also about other things, like what is the tech level for mankind? What is the tech level on other planets? Are the humans going to be the invaders, the aliens on these planets? And so, yeah, that there's a lot that they had to figure out for that game, and it's going to be. I can't wait, because I think it's going to be something special, because they actually sat down and thought about all these things. They not just had the idea, let's make a new game. They had the idea, let's create a new universe. Let's create something believable, something that where people can immerse themselves in. Because if you don't do that work, you won't be able to build a game where you can spend hundreds and hundreds of hours in that respective game. So I can't wait for the game, and it's gonna be something really special, and it is definitely my most anticipated game this year.
Yeah, for me as well. I've always been a big fan of Bethesda games, and one of I think this is one of those games that come along that you see 5,000 new subscribers to Xbox Game Pass in a month. Because, again, Microsoft does a lot of things that Sony doesn't do in regards to offering its players. Where do you want to play? Well, Pong may want to play on his Xbox. You may want to play on your PC, and people on the go might want to play on their tablets or their phones. And you're going to have the ability to do that. And that's the beauty of Game Pass. You don't need to have the console. Maybe by end of year, Jez Corden has been talking about that stick that we're hearing is going to plug into the side of the TV is coming. $99 controller, X amount of months of free Game Pass, and you're playing from your TV. Now, is that the experience that I personally want? Well, no, because I have the console. I go right from TV to console, and I'm good like that. But not everybody is going to do that, and that is that brings up the whole conversation with Xbox Game Pass once again. This game that's going to be the biggest game of 2022. There's no doubt about it. There, as great as Horizon is, and Horizon is gorgeous, as good and potentially as is gorgeous looking as God of War, if it releases this year at the end of the year, is going to be. Those are great titles. Those are big titles for Sony. But I think the big one of this year is you're going to see Elden Ring is one of them for sure, and the other back end, the bookend of the year is it's going to be Starfield. There's no doubt about it. But let's bring in Mav. Mav, you are looking forward to this game. This is a game that you're probably going to stream. This is probably a game you're going to want to sit back with your headphones in your dark room with your 4K TV and just go from place to place. And what's interesting about this new world that's been created, or it's currently being created by Bethesda, is everyone is going to have a different story. And I think that is very exciting. Boxenberger's experience is going to be very different from Pong's and from mine and from yours. How excited are you with this new information coming to us regarding the art style of the game?
Oh, it's I didn't need anything else ever to be any more excited. I don't know if you can raise my hype level ever since I found out that they were making a space sci-fi RPG led by Todd Howard and the A-Team at Bethesda Game Studios. A game that they had been wanting to make forever, as long as they've been in a studio, but they kept with the Elder Scrolls Fallout cadence, and they said at some point we got to do this thing if we're going to do it, right? They said at some point we have to do it. People are going to have to wait for Elder Scrolls. They're going to have to wait for whatever it is, because we got to do this game. And they took the time, and it's been years in development, and they are making this game. So I am excited for there to be 3 pillars of the Bethesda Game Studios now after this as well. Then we'll have Starfield, Elder Scrolls, and Fallout to look forward to, and figure out how are we going to get all these massive games. And dude, I'm so freaking pumped for it. This kind of game is one of those games where, you know, you sit there, okay, you got the day off, right? You got, nothing's going on. You can get sit down, you can relax. You boot it up at, like, let's say 10 a.m., right? Before you notice it, it's 10 p.m.
I kind of knew that's where you were going.
Right? And you're like, oh my God, where'd the day go? It feels like it's only been an hour. I didn't eat. I didn't use the bathroom. Am I alive right now? What's going on? Like, that's the kind of game that this is, because it will immerse you, and it will be a time sink, and the hours will melt away in a world like this, because that's what happens in all of their other big RPGs, right?
And this is just not a world, Mav. It's a universe.
It's a universe.
And they can, and that's the thing that's crazy. They can continue to add to this with updates, new planets, new races, new weapons, new ships. It's a limitless.
Just wait until the modders get a hold of it. Boom.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Okay.
I definitely can't wait for that. Yeah, good stuff, Mav. I mean, I'm right there with you. I've done that. I haven't done it in many years, but there's been times where I'm so enthralled with a game that you do start it up. You do say, all right, I'm going to play for about another half hour, and then I'm going to go do X. And then you look and you're like, damn it, I was here for 3 hours. And you're like, oh man, I'm at this one point. I don't know if I want to walk away just yet. And it's another 3 hours. And I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those games that are probably going to get a lot of guys in trouble with the missus. You were supposed to pick up the kids. What happened?
I have to finish this mission. I got to save this planet. You got to wait. You don't understand. There's
I'm so sorry I missed soccer practice.
Relying on me. That's exactly it, man, because in these kind of games, you get so immersed that becomes the most important things at that time, right? It's like, oh my gosh, like I got to do this, and then you just kind of block out the outside world,
indeed,
for a while, and there's very rare that games can do that. There's only certain franchises and certain games that are made and executed well enough, and it involves all those things that Archimedes was talking about with the world, with the universe building, right? Like of the backstory, the history, the races, the religion, the species, the the dialects, the going into. They even talked about what do the kids play with. This is this is the future. What are the kids gonna? Different things like that. Like all of these aspects make this thing into this believable world that we will be learning about all together on 11/11. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, that makes two of us. Real quick, I just want to make the announcement of the winner of the 2-month Xbox Game Pass Ultimate code, Red Hood 7691. Congratulations there, brother. Listen, DM me on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, email me. Go to the about page on my YouTube channel. Look for the business email, and I will send you over that code. Congratulations, and of course, a big shout out to Dusty from the Night Crawlers podcast for donating that code. I'll drop that as soon as I hear from you. VJ, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Todd Howard, he's had a lot of things to say about this game, and the more that we hear about it from the basically the guy that is really running the show over there at Bethesda, this is his baby come to fruition. And look, I said this before, and I'll say it again. What I'm hoping that this game gets is the Halo effect. Halo Infinite was delayed a year, and that delay allowed 343 to deliver both multiplayer and single player, where that was the game of the year for a lot of outlets. It certainly was a game that I gave a 10. I said this before, it's not perfect, but the mounting pressure to deliver and exactly what and how they delivered is why I bestowed it such an incredible score. This has a chance, and I say this, Starfield has a chance to be one of those games that are generational. What are your, hearing the NASA punk style that they're looking to take? Are you excited? How excited are you for this game?
I think you've heard me be pretty excited about this game, Boom, on this channel, but yeah, I know you have a lot of guests and a lot of topics and a lot of shows, so yeah, I don't mind being at the bottom of the pile. Anyway, I'm really hoping Starfield sort of pangs my twang, and I don't say that very often. And so far, and I don't want to give things labels or anything like that. I try not to. So far, though, what I see in terms of art style and premise, I'm really, really fascinated by this game, and I'm trying not to think too much about it. Boom. If you kind of have a preconception, your view will sort of inevitably be somewhat tainted or tarnished. Just a little Elden Ring promotion there. Pong will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, hence we might see, and we've seen it already, right? Even though Todd is perhaps saying a lot. I haven't really read what he's been saying. He's not really giving much away. And if you give too much away, and you've seen it with some other games recently, right? Giving too much away too early, right, can lead the media to take it on themselves to do lots and lots of previews, right? Because they have to, right, to a degree. And but those takes are sort of based on their own personal ideals and prejudices in terms of what a game should be in terms of pain and pleasure. But in relation to Bethesda, I'm glad they're keeping everything up, sort of up their sleeve or under wraps. And obviously, I'm like everybody else, right? I can't wait until they actually sort of open up the floodgates for us to sort of digest everything that they've been working on. But I think that ultimately, with Xbox behind Starfield, it has no reason to disappoint. I don't even mind if it sees a delay, right? Many games are seeing delays, and but for me, as I said, given the investment side and looking at from that perspective, it should help usher in perhaps even a new gaming paradigm, right? Hopefully, one that sort of satiates or quenches everyone's sort of anticipation of where Bethesda are taking gaming as a whole. Because let's be honest, right? This is Todd's or Bethesda's magnus opus, right? And I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm cognizant of the fact that I think I'm contradicting my opening statement of having no preconceptions. Yeah, but anyway, I'll go full on contradiction mode. So look, we all want or desire Bethesda to do well this time around, right? I think even more so I think they're still far more important than even Activision. That's just for me personally, right? Even though they spent 10 times the amount of acquiring the latter company. But specifically with Starfield, Xbox paid a king's ransom for it. And Bethesda always have this sort of halo above their head, right? In terms of they can be the harbingers, right, of all things good and wonderful in video games, right? And I think Todd's had a bit of a tough time of it over the last few years, and I think that's to do with the ZeniMax board. I think the coming out under of the ZeniMax board and its sort of VCs and investors that probably didn't understand gaming as well, don't understand gaming as well as, say, their new owners in terms of Microsoft probably helped the game or is helping the game significantly. But I just hope that, you know, there isn't these sort of snot gobbling and inept media, attention hungry outlets and fans that don't let their egos and sort of pre-programmed sort of presuppositions get in the way of how this game turns out and how it's received ultimately. And again, this is all sort of inwardly looking, and I know it's all very, very selfish. I hope it's something that I still want to play, not because it's in Game Pass, nor because I want Todd to hold on to some sort of messianic status, but because it's something special, because it's nothing nothing short of astonishing, right? Because it's a masterclass in video game design and presentation. And in the meantime, Pong, we've got Elden Ring to play.
Listen, I'm not a Souls guy either like Pong, but I am really excited for that game because of the open world aspect. It is being called, you know, Breath of the Wild meets Souls. I kind of dig that. Definitely kind of dig that. But yeah, good stuff. Mr. Joanna Dark, let's get your opinion on it. I know you had some issues with the audio. How you doing now?
I'm good. How is everyone?
Excellent. So I mean, where do you personally fall in your excitement levels? Because you're relatively new to the program, so we may not have had where your feelings are currently standing with Todd Howard's masterpiece in the making known as Starfield. How excited are you for this game?
As a fan of Bethesda, I'm super excited. Every time I've seen this game since it's kind of reveal and some of the art, it reminds me of Space Odyssey. It also gives me Interstellar vibes with the way the music and the way they just describe it. Something that is grounded in reality and makes me wonder that I'll be able to, as a person, to travel to another world and maybe meet other, people, or their factions. And it's just exciting. I went back to play Fallout 4, which I never started. And one of the things is I got hyped from watching the last not trailer, but kind of little video that they showed on StarCraft, and just the attention to detail when it comes to just the items in the world, the world building, and the overall characters you meet. I agree with everyone here where I can just see myself jumping in a spaceship, going somewhere and getting lost and not knowing exactly, like I did with Skyrim, knowing that I put 80 hours in and I never got to the main mission, which was the second mission after you do the tutorial. And I'm just excited overall. I think, it's a game that I know we were just discussing that Sony saw and wanted to purchase. And then we look at some of the games that have come out from Bethesda, right? We had Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo is coming out next month. I'm seeing, to me, is that Bethesda was trying to change what happened with the games like Wolfenstein, Youngblood, and of course, the other ones that came out that just didn't hit the mark, and wanted to go back. And I think now with the fact that there's acquisition and they have that freedom, I think it takes away the stress of trying to see how they want to monetize the game and allows, God Howard to really deliver something that they always wanted to, because of the resources and because of now where we're at from a technological standpoint and what these devices, what these, consoles and of course PC can do. And I'm just excited just thinking about having my Steam Deck, and I don't have to miss my kids' soccer practice. I'm just going to be on my Steam Deck playing Starfield and just losing myself in this world. And I feel there's something special with this game, and just the way they continue to slowly kind of drip information and give you kind of those details, even though I've never seen it, or we've only seen some of those kind of small videos. It's like I can envision it in my mind what I'm going to be doing. So I'm definitely excited for this game, and I just can't wait to finally see its revealed gameplay when we see Todd Howard on the stage like he always does, and he just shows us this game, and we're like, wow.
Yeah, I you know what? That is what I'm looking forward to. If there's one reveal, well, there's actually 3 reveals, 2 of which are probably not going to happen, but it's okay, it's fine. I'm hoping that at this year's whatever they call it, it's not going to be called E3, it's going to be called Microsoft event, whatever, that we see Killer Instinct and of course Banjo-Kazooie. I'm still beating that drum. Hate me if you want. I don't care. I want the burden bear. But I honestly cannot wait to see Todd Howard get out there and really give us a nice, solid, like 8 or 10 minute demo of the game, because he likes to get up there with his black leather and do his thing, and I'm looking forward to it. Real quick, Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "Will Starfield have the ability to change cameras between first person and third person?" I honestly do not know. All of their
every
games
other Bethesda RPG had the ability to do
Yes.
that. I would be surprised if it wouldn't
If it
be in there.
didn't.
So
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Well, listen, being that we kind of plowed through that one, we do have one more topic to get into. We have half an hour left, and this one is pretty interesting. I really wanted to grab the opinions of not only the panel, because I think we all have a bunch of varied opinions, but the chat and see what they are saying. And let me just get to the topics over here. Hold on just one second. Let me find it. Okay, yeah, so here we go. Atlus, the makers of Persona, which still shocks me that it has not been a part of Xbox Game Pass or even launched on Xbox as of yet, which is a bit of a conundrum, made an announcement that kind of shocked the industry. And after an 8+ year absence from Xbox, they are bringing Soul Hackers 2 to the platform. Now, if you're not really sure what Soul Hackers 2 is, because I had to look this up. I know it's a JRPG, but I didn't know what kind of JRPG. It is a part of the Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner spin-off series. The game is about a group of magically gifted people called Devil Summoners on a quest to save the world from an apocalypse being ingested by a mysterious phantom society. Sounds like a really typical JRPG that I'm into, and I know that Pong is into these as well. But that's actually not the question for this particular topic. It's impressive that Atlus, who does make some of the best JRPGs in the world, finally has recognized Xbox as a platform that has millions of gamers that want these experiences. Pong, my question to you and the rest of the panel, and of course the incredible 400+ people we still have here in the chat, is very simple. Has the opinion of Japan changed regarding Microsoft? And because of that change, was that, the change that we're seeing, this kind of turnaround, slow but surely turnaround, could the Bethesda and Activision Blizzard deals maybe move the meter in Japan on how serious Xbox is as gaming? What are your takes on this?
Okay. I don't know if the opinion overall has changed. I think it's evolving as we speak. And I think that I don't think the Activision Blizzard and ZeniMax deals per se move the needle for Japanese developers and publishers. I think the numbers do, right? And I think that they see what's happening. You get examples like Sega bringing Yakuza to Game Pass and what that did for that franchise, and opened up a new fan base that was not there previously, for the people who never experienced it because maybe they just never owned a PlayStation. Maybe they've been Xbox fans solely forever. And I think those are the examples that are starting to kind of force their way in. Right? They're opening up doors that may have previously been closed. And obviously Atlus being, underneath Sega, even though, as we know, on the the Eastern side of things, just because a company like Sega owns Atlus, they tend to give their developer houses freedom that we don't see a lot of times out of the Western and European devs. Like if you own somebody, that's kind of, you're underneath there, you're underneath the umbrella, and you're going to kind of do what we kind of plan with you, right? But over there, they give them a lot more freedom in a lot of cases. And that's what's happened with Atlus. That's why we have not seen Atlus games come to Xbox like Persona 5. It would make so much sense for Persona 5 to show up, and yet it still hasn't. Now, could there be an exclusivity deal? Yeah, of course there could be. Sony could have paid for it, but we got to figure that it's expiring at some point. That was never announced as full exclusive in any way, shape, or form. They put it elsewhere. So why not put it on Xbox? So I think that we finally might be seeing the doors crack on some of these developers that may have said, the old excuse, Xbox fans don't play JRPGs. Okay. Xbox fans have no interest in JRPGs. I hate that excuse.
Yeah, me too.
I understand why it's used because, again, not all the Eastern developers are big time development houses. Some of them are smaller. They don't have unlimited resources and they have to make decisions. However, you've got to cultivate a fan base. And the only way you're going to cultivate a fan base is by putting some of your games on Xbox. I'm not saying you have to put all of them, but like I said, you saw what happened with Yakuza. People who never, ever had interest in a Yakuza title before got it on Game Pass, played it, and now are some of the biggest fans. Tim Dog, huge member of this community. Right?
Yeah.
Never
he
had,
went bonkers for that game.
Correct. That's, again, we were talking about the power of Game Pass and being able to try things out. And now, again, we're not saying this game is coming to Game Pass. Chances are it's probably not coming to Game Pass. I'm going to buy it day one.
Though you
never know.
Though,
you never know.
You know, we had a game come to Xbox Game Pass from Bandai Namco.
Yeah.
And
Nexus.
Yes, Scarlet Nexus. Now, if you recall, I think it was a couple of months ago, the producer came out and said it was incredible for the game when it came to Xbox Game Pass, that they did numbers they didn't anticipate. So maybe just throwing it out there.
Yeah, maybe. We won't know until soon, but right now it's not. And we just had Danganronpa, the first one, the remix come to Game Pass for the first time. Danganronpa is another very niche Eastern Japanese style game that I've been calling for forever. I bought it even though it's on Game Pass to support Spike Chunsoft for putting it on Xbox finally. So because I want them to continue to do this. But this is the big thing. You have to cultivate the fan base. Now, with this game in particular, okay, this game right here is absolutely Soul Hackers niche. Okay.
Yes.
Out of all Atlus games in general, even Persona, for as well as Persona does, it has a rabid fan base and a big fan base considering what type of game it is. Yeah. However, it is still niche. But then you get to even further, like Soul Hackers. Look, I can definitely say there's probably some Atlus fans out there that don't even realize that Soul Hackers is actually the spin-off renamed of Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner, which is back from the PS2 era and PSP days. Okay?
You know what? Again, I just to jump in, once you're done with your spiel, I want you to bring it to the fans here, 400 plus people, what you would like to see Sarah Bond and Team Xbox do.
Yes, I will do that. So again, I think there's Atlus fans who don't even realize what Soul Hackers is. Right. So unless you are an old school fan, this is a very niche title is what I'm getting at. I'm hoping this is not a testing game that they're putting on Xbox, because this game probably isn't going to sell the greatest in general, no matter where you put it, just because it is so niche. I could be surprised. It could be the next great Persona, kind of phenomenon that we saw, right? And this thing could blow up, right? There's no question about that. Atlus games have that potential, but being that this is a spin-off series off of Shin Megami Tensei, which again, most people have not experienced, and some people don't even realize that Persona is a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei. Look, I'm not expecting huge numbers here, so I'm hoping this is not a testing ground. I actually hope that this is a sign that a couple years ago, Atlus internally decided to start making games for Xbox, and this is just kind of the first of what we can expect to be a regular appearance of Atlus games. Maybe 2 years ago, all this work that Phil's been doing in Japan actually opened a door. Maybe the relationship with Sega finally cracked that door open, and we're now going to see Atlus games. So to your point, and I talked to you guys behind the scenes about this, these games are important for the overall perception of your ecosystem. They're not for everybody. I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody to go out and buy this game to support, right? I hope a lot of people do, because I want to see more of this. But and some people will say we don't need those games. Well, for an entire ecosystem to be healthy, you got to have diversity. And these types of niche JRPG, Eastern style, crazy, wacky, wild, fun games are necessary. Okay, because again, it does draw people in. A lot of people picked up the PS4 because they knew they would get all these little JRPGs. If you look at their store, there are so many JRPGs that people have probably never heard of in their entire lives, but they're there and available for people who do really love this type of game. And so that's why this is so important. But what I was saying in the background is, if Phil wants to make the splash in Japan, one of the things that he and Sarah Bond could do, and again, this is going to cost a lot, but it does not matter to get that kind of mind share on the East that they want to. One of the first splashes they could do, outside of buying a publisher or a dev or something like that, go drop the money bag off at Atlus. Use your partnership with Sega, get in the door at Atlus and say, look, Persona 4 Golden, which is one of the best, if not the greatest Persona ever created. Some people now put 5 ahead of it, and I understand, but Persona 4 Golden is what put actual Persona on the map for a lot of people. But that was handheld, okay? They never made a console version. The fan base of Persona have been calling for Persona 4 Golden to get the console, the console upgrade, and have it put out there for everybody. I'd love to see it on the big screen. Now, I played it on the big screen through the PS TV, but there was probably about 500 of us that owned the PS TV at the time, right? So not a lot of people have been able to experience it on the big screen. Go drop the money bag off at Atlus. Have them do a Persona 4 Golden console version. Pay for it completely. I don't care. Even if you don't get full exclusivity, even if you get a year or 2 years exclusivity and Game Pass, you get Persona 4 Golden, you will make a splash everywhere across the world for all those Persona fans. It will be a big, giant deal. I'd love to see them do that. That's just on my wish list. If I had Phil's phone for a month, these are the types of deals I'd be making, because it would definitely be a big, giant win for Xbox. So I hope that, something like that happens down the road here, but I'm just happy to finally see an Atlus game come. Again, I hope this is not the only one we get this generation. Like we saw, 360 and Xbox basically get one Atlus game per generation. Xbox One didn't get a single one. I hope this is the start of something good, because Atlus games really are special. They're not for everybody, but the people who do love them, they are up there with some of the best JRPGs of all time. And Shin Megami Tensei is the original that started it all. We're talking about very deep Bible level type themes in these games, which people don't understand until you get into them. And I can't wait to see what they did with Lost Hackers 2 here, because man, this could be the start of another great, great series. And if it does well on Xbox, maybe we'll see more coming. So.
And that's, great point. And first of all, the great idea to bring Persona 4 Golden to consoles for the first time. And I agree with you. I think dropping the money bag off to Atlus to do something like that would be worth its weight in gold. No pun intended. Let's bring in a Boxenberger. Your thoughts on the Western aspect of gaming that has eluded. The Eastern aspect of gaming has eluded Western gamers. We've been asking for it. And again, we understand, even on PlayStation, as many consoles as they have out in the wild, which I believe is well over 116 million consoles, Atlus does not make bank on every game that they release there. They'll get 1.6, 1.7, maybe 2 million, maybe on a big one, they'll crack 3. But I always say, if you box out an entire populace like Xbox, you have now painted yourself into a bit of a corner. And I've always disagreed with that. I think, a perfect example, and again, I know it's apples to oranges, but MLB The Show sold just as much as it did on the PlayStation on an Xbox. And I believe that a game like Persona could bring in those same big numbers, with this game actually skipping the Switch, which is incredibly impressive in its own right. Do you think there's a change of the guard, so to speak? Oh, you muted yourself. There you go.
There we go. So
yes.
Now, yeah, all right. Much better. People can actually hear me when I want to say something. Listen, let me back up a little bit. Earlier we talked about why is Game Pass so special, because it brings diversity to gaming, and that's what is important, to have a good and healthy ecosystem. Now, we don't know whether Atlus will come to Game Pass or not. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that Xbox needs these Japanese type of games in order to have more diversity in their portfolio, in their ecosystem. Phil has said it himself that they need to do more there, and we have seen moves, smaller and bigger ones. A bigger one definitely being Scarlet Nexus coming to Game Pass, but we have also seen other moves towards that region. Now, getting Atlus in the ecosystem is definitely a big win, even though some gamers might say, hey, that's not for me. That's fine. Not every game has to be for you. Yeah, it is about choice, offering gamers that choice, what they want to play. And we have seen that Xbox is doing significantly better over there in Japan this generation. They have sold already more Xbox Series consoles over there than during the lifetime of the Xbox One generation, and that just tells you something. And I see a lot of Japanese gamers in my timeline opening up their new Xbox consoles, so they are growing there. And when you want to grow, you have to have that kind of content that caters to that audience in that region. But also, of course, Western gamers love to play Japanese games. We all grew up with them. I always say those older gamers like us here, yeah, we all grew up in the 90s. Basically, every game we played was a Japanese game, yeah. Doesn't matter whether you were on Sega or on Nintendo. Those are Japanese companies. So, yeah. That's really a good thing. The other point made by Pong was actually quite good. Or was it by you, Boom? I can't recall. If
It's
Atlus
okay.
wants to say sell more and want to grow their IP as well, they also kind of have to go out of that Japanese core market, and they have to find ways to find new audiences. So if they want to grow their franchise as well, they kind of need an Xbox, because Xbox is going to be a big force in gaming this generation and after and beyond. And it is a great opportunity for them to grow their game, especially with the combination of xCloud, which is a mobile first technology, and in Japan we're talking about a mobile first market. So yeah, it is a big opportunity for them as well. So overall, this is a win-win situation, and I think I'm hoping to see more of these kind of deals with these Japanese game developers.
Yeah, I like what you're putting down, and I agree. I think if Microsoft intends to so-called make a dent in that region, they definitely need to do more of these deals. Atlus is so big, man, and there's so many gamers that have been calling for this type of genre to come to Xbox. I personally would love to see it. Mav, where are your takes on this? How important is this first step for Xbox?
Well, I'm gonna kind of touch on something that Pong said, because Pong was saying, "Is this a test?" I hope it's not just a test. They picked this game as a test, right? I say no, because this game, they're not going to be expecting that many sales anyway. To be honest with you, right? I mean, look at the first one. I mean, you had a few 100,000 sales on this franchise in the past, so that'd be a weird one to like test the waters on. You know what I mean? So for me, this goes way above all of this stuff, right? This goes back to just a few months back when we had this announcement from Sega and Sarah Bond about this partnership moving forward with the Super Cloud Game Initiative, and they have the same goals aligned and all these things, right? This Atlus is a subsidy of Sega, right?
Yes.
So a subsidiary. And so for me, this is a little bit of that influence coming out now, because since that, everybody wanted to say, well, this only had things to do with the Super Game Initiative from Sega and the cloud development stuff.
Yeah.
But those, regardless of if that specific thing was just about that, the other effect of that is the relationship gets closer between Sega and Xbox, which was already extremely close. Okay?
Yes.
And if you keep building relationships and you keep working together and things keep working out for you, things keep working out for me, Sega can strongly suggest to Atlus that we should start putting our games onto Xbox. They don't have to force them to, but you know, if the company that owns you is saying you maybe we should do this, you're probably going to start potentially looking at doing that, right? So I'm looking at the things that have happened since that partnership was announced. Now, how often do we get massive third-party games coming into Game Pass? It's becoming more frequent, but it's also becoming more frequent for Sega. Because since that was announced, we got Total War Warhammer 3, which is a huge title for them in the PC space, on Game Pass day one. That's a Sega-published game. Again, we got just announced, I think, a couple weeks ago, 2 Point Campus, which people look at it as like an indie game, right? Whatever, but the first 2 Point Hospital was a very successful game for Sega. It was an extremely successful game for them. 2 Point Campus is coming to Game Pass on day one.
Yeah.
Now we see Atlus game coming to Xbox, right? This relationship is building, and we're going to continue to see this. So I don't think this is a one and done thing. I think we're going to see more of this, because out of all the titles that I would expect to come to Xbox, this is the least. This is the last one, right? Usually these very niche things are what we see only be exclusive on other platforms, because they're like, okay, well, it's not worth it for us to put in this much extra work for this thing that we know is only going to sell this much anyway, so we're going to only put it on the platform that we know has the biggest audience for this and just kind of drop it there. A game like this usually isn't what gets that push onto every platform like this until now, right? This is different. We never got these kind of games from companies like Atlus or other developers too last generation on Xbox. They were always only on PlayStation. We're getting it now. And it's partly because of the success, like you guys were saying, of Xbox and Game Pass and this growing ecosystem of Xbox, and people smell the money. They know where it's going. But it's also because of that relationship. So like it's the intrinsic effect of this relationship that we're seeing here, I think, is bringing these games here now. And it's only going to continue to grow. So I can't wait to see whatever Atlus has next, unless Sony breaks the bank and buys exclusivity on a next Persona or whatever it is coming in the future. I think that we'll see those games on Xbox going forward. But that's just a prediction. Maybe it won't happen. But I really think so, man.
I like, again, great points as always. VJ, you are our resident podcaster that knows a lot about Japan. Your knowledge is extremely extensive. It's one of the main reasons why we love having you on here, because obviously when you come at these very specific topics, you always bring an incredible amount of distinction to the conversation. For you seeing Atlus dip their toe in the pool, right? They're not jumping in. They're not hanging out with Papa Phil just yet, but dipping the toe in there. The question that people have asked, is this a test? And I agree with everyone. I hope it's not, because this is a very niche title. But does this spell the potential growth of games from the East coming to Xbox Game Pass? Not Xbox Game Pass, Xbox, but maybe even Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, maybe both are true, actually. sorry, I'm just catching up on the show notes this morning. I haven't had a chance. I'm so sorry, but I think the panel have already made some fantastic points. So I'm kind of try and just piggyback on their copy their homework, shall we say? I think if you look at the Activision and Blizzard and King acquisitions, along with even Bethesda and so on and so forth, historically those games haven't done great in Japan. They do okay in terms of numbers. They should be doing a lot more. And perhaps it's localization, perhaps it's marketing. Actually, I think it's both, actually, if I'm being quite honest with you. And hopefully Xbox, especially when Starfield hits Japan, that they really put a lot of effort behind it. But I'm kind of digressing right now. But let's just say Microsoft right now, as Pong mentioned, it's a case, I think, of signaling intent from Xbox that gives major third-party players in Europe and Asia, obviously that's the region we're talking about, something to think about, especially if something goes south and sour with Sony, right? You've got somebody else in the wings, right? And there'll be smart business, right, to make sure that, hey, look, if you slip up or if we're not treated right, there is another player out there, which I think strengthens positions of third-party publishers and developers, I should say. And if you look at all the moves Xbox are making, I feel that all this discussion about exclusivity, it's all in the wind, really. It's all old, because I think what Xbox are doing, they're intrinsically tethering their whole industry to Xbox, and that includes Sony and Nintendo. I won't go into that now, but I've got some thoughts on that, but maybe for another time. And basically, Xbox are landlords, right? They're no longer tenants, sort of vying to lease the most coveted building in Billionaires Row in New York City. I know that's where you reside, Boom. Sorry to give your home address away.
That's all right. I hate Manhattan, by the way. Just throwing it out there, but go ahead.
Okay. You can arrest me later. But perhaps, as Mav alluded to at the beginning of the show, right, unit sales may not matter because, especially if Game Pass delivers on its appeal and promise in Asia, and Xbox no longer want to solely, as we can see right now, want to solely rely on the traditional business models of business, because they've got a cap, right? They have a cap, and we've seen that cap over generations, right? It's growing slowly, but it's very incremental. So that's why I think Microsoft is taking a paradigm shift in terms of how to attack the industry and how to grow it over the next 5 to 10 years with the roots and with the pillars that they set up, right, to tackle the industry going forward. And for me, I have to say, I woke up one day and I was so pleased that Pong and the other, you guys might know, that Octopath Traveler made it to Xbox, which was initially just a Switch title. And I can't tell you how happy I was. And I put
that
well
game
over 8
is
hours.
a classic, bro.
Freaking amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember actually tweeting with Boxenberger a little bit back and forth on that game. And he needed a lot of help on that game, unfortunately. But now it helps as much. I'm just kidding. It was the other way around.
Well, now I have more than 80 hours into it, so now I can give the advice.
Oh, goodness me. I think that there are many valuable titles out there that perhaps Xbox should be vying for, and not perhaps are vying for. And as we often say on this show, rather than going and buying up everybody right off the bat, which is not always welcome, strategically align yourself, as Pong was saying, right, with opportunity, and Mav was saying, right, in terms of with opportunities, and more so, why not with Square and Nintendo, right, and other devs and publishers to bring content to Xbox, especially those that perhaps Sony feel are not this time around in this generation, aren't as material to their success, goals, and strategy and purpose as a business. But you've got Xbox and PS5, right? Let's be honest, right? In terms of hardware, from the people that I've spoken to, that I respect, that both systems are not astonishingly different, and therefore titles such as this one, Soul Hackers 2, I believe it is, right, should make it to Xbox, as it might help the development budget and the revenue opportunity for all involved. Because when we look at a publisher or even a developer with multiple teams, right, we look at it as a whole, but they look at it as business units, right, as individual units in terms of what that team is doing, what it's producing, and what's the commercial upside of that, right? And if it isn't doing well, they either disband it or reallocate those resources elsewhere, right? So and that's how they typically work, and I assume they can still work today, right? But while they're accumulating all this other content, look, I can't avert my gaze, right, from Dragon Quest, Persona, and Final Fantasy, and a few other titles that still remain the major Asia Pacific box office franchises, shall we say, right? And Xbox just need to keep swinging, keep sweeping up everything else to a point in time when Square Enix and Atlus Sega have no commercial choice, right, as Pong was saying, but to release all games multi-format. And Sega have made that call out already, I believe, right? As Pong said, when everybody was mentioning that the Yakuza series came to Game Pass, right? And I was telling everybody, please play it, please play it, please play it, because it's such a great series. And then of course you had Yakuza Like a Dragon and Lost Judgment coming to Xbox day and date, relatively in line with all other formats. I think that Yakuza Like a Dragon came to Xbox first, Stephen, right? Before the PlayStation 5 release version was released, and PlayStation 4 version was released, I think, in a few months prior to those. I think it was in March and November, respectively. But it's you've got to look at it as commercial decision making being made by publishers, that multi-format games serves everybody, right? And that reduces division, that reduces conflict, but also makes business sense. And it's not just for the opulent few to enjoy, right? And it also ultimately makes business sense because it affects their bottom line and more so survivability, Boom, right? And especially when this comes to these niche games, right? Which, as I was talking about, small development teams, right, within a larger publisher or a larger developer, right, who are only as good as their last game, right? And that's the pressure. That's the sort of pressure these dev teams are under, right? I know we always talk about the Bethesdas and the and the Capcoms and the Activisions with loads of studios, but these companies run in a very, very different business model, right? So, and look, I'm caveating all of this and saying that unless Sony steps in and pays for the privilege, right, and home advantage and all that, but saying that, it's just something that Pong said. I'm still. I haven't given it enough thought, but I'm still wondering how Sony are keeping Final Fantasy Remake off of the Xbox platform. There must be close to like at least $200 million in revenue that's potentially sitting there for Square Enix. And given the sort of poor performance of several games recently, I'm still trying to work out why this hasn't hit the Xbox. And I know $200 million sounds like a lot to me. Well, it is an incredible amount, probably to all of us. But maybe it's not to Sony. But still, it's a humongous amount of revenue, right? And keeping, as people in the panel were saying, keeping a franchise on a single format. So the awareness of it is also diminishing, right? It's not just about the revenue. And then you've got the next mainline entry of Dragon Quest, right, which I'm a huge fan of. It's going to be interesting. Will that be day and date on Xbox? Will it be on PlayStation? Or lo and behold, will it be exclusive to the Switch, right? Given the popularity of their system, right? It's dwarfs or makes PlayStation 5 and Xbox combined irrelevant, right, in Japan. And then you've got this other game coming out, which I've got my eye on next month, in Triangle Strategy, right, by Square Enix, very similar to Octopath Traveler, other than the combat is perhaps more like Final Fantasy Tactics back from the 90s, rather than the term completely being turn-based. And again,
well, you know what? Let me just interrupt you,
sure.
because the question that you brought up that I thought that we didn't have an immediate answer for. FYI, Final Fantasy VII Remake. That was released in 2021, only as of this date have sold under 4 million copies. That is, listen, again, if you're a Sony guy or gal and you're gonna be like, well, 3 million copies, that's great. Not when there's 116 million consoles. Sorry. Yep. And Final Fantasy VII is by far the most beloved RPG in the history of RPGs. So the fact that Sony has money hatted that game for over 2 years and it has not come to Xbox, you're right. They are potentially leaving hundreds of millions of dollars on the table. But continue.
And I was going to say, Boom, right? And I'm saying that because Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to have a couple more parts, right? And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Final Fantasy Remake comes to Xbox and then the Remake Part 2 comes to all formats, right? I don't know, especially as I'm saying, right? And this is sort of a double whammy for a Square Enix in terms of they haven't had the best of financial performances over the last year or 18 months. And I may be wrong there. They may still be making a profit, but nowhere near in terms of what they're projected to their shareholders. So it'll be really interesting to see how that pans out. And I think Microsoft are just going to sit back and bide their time and say, listen, you know what? Here's a hand, right? And we're not withdrawing it, right? Just grab it when you need to. So I think that for me, again, Triangle Strategy, if it's exclusive to Nintendo for a year, another game that Microsoft...
Which I have pre-ordered, PS, by the way.
There you go. And might be another candidate that might be coming. But as I say, there are plenty of deals to be done. I just hope we learn of them in good time, or sooner rather than later. But that's just me being extremely selfish. And I will say this, that Soul Hackers will appeal to a huge anime show audience and / sort of gaming fan base. I'm in an anime DM and people are really, really excited about this game. So, and talking of Japanese created games, I hope everyone is supporting Elden Ring this week.
Yeah, well, that makes two of us. And listen, let's close out the show with Mr. Joanna Dark and your opinion on this. Where do you personally fall on the importance of Atlus dropping a game onto Xbox for the first time in 8+ years?
I hope this, like I agree with the panel was saying, I hope there's not a litmus test, because one of the things that I've noticed is sometimes certain JRPGs come that have an established kind of, already legacy on other platforms. And to me, it's kind of like hey, look, we put a game on here and it didn't sell. But again, you're putting either a sequel or a game that's kind of a mini series in when it comes over to Xbox. And, Devil Summoner, the original, was on Saturn and then on 3DS.
Yeah.
So I'm excited as a JRPG fan for this series, and hopefully it does well. I think one of the things that that you said last night on Primetime Gaming that was interesting, Microsoft buying studios and kind of, taking things that are missing for the portfolio that maybe Sony has, whether they established it on their end or through, partnerships that they've had. I would love for Microsoft to maybe, kind of, go and get someone like Nippon Ichi who makes these titles, right? Go Neon Falcom with the Trails of Cold Steel series, or, KO Tecmo with the Ulterior series, and see what they can do with those type of developers. Maybe they want to work and bring their games, because some of their games I think translate well via xCloud. And another thing they have to look at is that, Danganronpa, I've played that on the Vita, and it's getting another breath of life on Game Pass, and it's perfect for cloud gaming because it's a visual novel.
Yes.
So my thing is, what can maybe Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer do and say, hey, let's work with other companies that maybe want to bring their titles and give them that other, breath of, fresh air onto the platform. Let Atlus continue to do whatever they're doing, and seeing how successful these games are. We have Edge of Eternity, we have Crease Tales, all these JRPGs that we're getting. And again, I'm not sure how they're doing on there, but I do see a lot of people playing them on them. And at some point, just like everything else, you're just going to not have to ignore the fact that these games are doing well on Game Pass and they're selling. I mean, how do you say, oh, it's not going to sell on Xbox if you never even attempt to put them on there?
That's a great point. Yeah.
That's point, like me saying, hey, I'm not going to put my app here for XYZ. I'm like, how would I know that unless you have some crazy analytics or some Power BI that you're looking at and saying, oh, yeah, you're not going to sell on here. And I think that's the best way to attack this thing with Japanese games. Go to these small developers. There's some great developers in China, Korea, that are making these experiences that we love, these old school kind of spiritual successors to some JRPGs that we like, and go there. If not, yeah, maybe go to Atlus and say, hey, what is it going to take? And if it means overpaying, and they start seeing the success like we saw with Yakuza, like the Yakuza series, then it's one of those things where, okay, let's bring more games. And it's crazy, because I look at Game Pass and right now, and one of the things that I think, Boom, you just said, how Final Fantasy VII sold. The great thing about the Xbox platform is that these games doesn't mean that a person has to go buy an Xbox. They can just get a Game Pass subscription no matter where they are and play these games and get more engagement out of them. A lot of these games these JRPGs that come to, PlayStation, some of them are very niche as well. They have, a niche audience that follows them. Another game that I would love to see on the platform is, Sakura Wars, which is another one that's stuck on there from Sega. So my thing is, maybe Xbox can make a partnership or get a small developer to make some of these titles, continue to make other deals with other Japanese developers to then eventually go for the big fish. And like Pong Soul says, this has been rumored for years. What deal or what kind of NDA must Atlus be under if PlayStation 5, Persona is somewhat of an exclusive that has been a deal that maybe was done years ago, that now Atlus just says, hey, it just stays on this platform. And I think Atlus is weird because if you want to talk about the Persona series, you have Persona on PlayStation, but you have the Shinji Megami Tensei series always on Switch. We just got Shinji Mikami Tensei 5. And then this
Mhm.
Devil Summoner is kind of one that just floats around depending on the platform that you want to, you're on there. So they kind of have these 3 different staples of Persona spin-offs that eventually, go to a specific platform, and one just gets kind of put on different things. I hope it changes. I want to go back to the days like the 360 where we got Eternal Sonata and all these great JRPGs that were there. And hopefully, I keep saying, maybe leverage Tango as a studio that can maybe
Yes.
go there, get Shinji Mikami or someone in there to maybe talk to some of these developers and slowly under that umbrella cultivate these relationships to bring these JRPGs, because there's a lot of people on the Xbox platform that do love these JRPGs, but they're just not coming over here. It's crazy. For instance, Persona Ultimate Fighter, I can play the old one, but the new one's not coming to Xbox, but yet it existed on the 360. So again, it's one of those things that I would love to kind of be a fly on the wall, where Atlus is just kind of looking at, hey, what platforms are we coming to, and what exactly is happening there. But I said, hopefully this game, I would say to people, play it.
Yeah.
And if you love the game, save that 20% off and purchase it. And hopefully those numbers show, hey, look at how many people engaged with this game just because it was something that finally came to the platform from Atlus.
No, I mean, great points. Everyone has completely knocked it out of the park, and we got the 4 topics. One of which was audible, and thanks, to a particular member of the community that was here asking some questions that I think we all answered respectfully. But wow, what a great show! What a great 2 hours. Let's get everyone out of here so you can continue on your Tuesday. And listen, we'll start first with Pong Soul. Pong, listen. What you have been up to is nothing short of amazing. Not only are you an incredible member of this particular podcast every week, you do your due diligence to be one of the top community members, in my opinion. And the shows that you deliver every Saturday with Steel Rain, my God, I mean, I'm always engaged, and I wish I could listen to the 4.5 hours live, but I usually have to break them up because they're so freaking long. Tell everyone where they can check out your Saturday show, help you guys get to the 1K, and more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Boom, don't care how you do it. If you break it up over 4 sessions, it doesn't matter to me and Steel. We just have a good time, and it is our format. I know some people say you shouldn't go that long. Look, Steel and I just have a great time talking, so that's all that matters. Do. That's what matters. That's why we started that. Why we started Living Split Screen was to do that, and that's exactly the way we're going to go. So, anyways, fantastic show, brothers. Fantastic. Even with the Audible, man, we covered a lot today. Love hearing all of your opinions and thoughts, man. I always love this. And VJ, again, man, what a pleasure to have you added to this show, brother. You bring so much knowledge and such a vocabulary to make us all look good. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that so much. But no, great show. Otherwise, Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter, you know the drill. Chat, you're all amazing. Your support was incredible today as well. I almost forgot to say that. Nothing but respect for you guys coming out here. Almost over 400 people in there talking the good talk. Even if somebody has a difference of opinion, I love seeing all the discussion and taking it seriously and not just turning to insults. That's the way it should be. Appreciate you all. Nothing but love and respect for you. Look, you're going to get a couple extra doses of me this week. So tonight, RDX, I will be there. That's right. I am going to be on RDX.
Nice, dude.
On there. Yeah, dealer hit me up this morning right before we went live here. So I will be on RDX tonight. So obviously check that out. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. I'm sure everybody knows that. That's going to be a great time. Love hanging out with that crew over there. So join me there. Then on Wednesday, tomorrow, actually, I had taped a awesome discussion with Web Dave, Outbreak Podcast, and that is going to premiere live tomorrow on YouTube
Dave's
as well.
Dude.
1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So come by. I'm going to be at work, but I'm going to try to be in the chat and at least engage a little bit while I'm at work. So that's going to be awesome. Had a great time with Dave. He is such an awesome dude. So go check out his channel, Outbreak Podcast, for sure. Then on Thursday, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM, 2-man show, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, over on Fun Speculations channel. Of course, be there. We're going to deep dive 1, 2, maybe 3 topics, but him and I have great
nice
conversation as well. So please check us out there. Friday nights, back at it. Xbox Ultimate, Fun Speculations channel, the great 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock
Nice.
Central Time. Join us there. Living Split Screen Saturday mornings. That's right. My brother from another Steel Rain and I, 3+ hours guaranteed. Buckle up. Join us live. Raw and uncut discussion about all things across the entire gaming industry. Even get into it about the community and what's going on there. Usually get a rant or two. So join myself and my brother from another Steel Rain, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. Like Boom said, we are on mission 1K this year, trying to get there. And then obviously Saturday nights over on the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel. He deserves more viewers. He's been doing it for over 5 years. We have a fantastic time over there. Normally he has a guest. Last week we didn't, which was very rare, but normally he does have guests. So drop in Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time, the Shop Podcast. Otherwise, it is the golden age of gaming, people. Get out there, play what you love what you play, and I will talk to you all real soon.
Pong, I need you to do me a favor. I gotta take this call. It's a bit of an important one.
Absolutely.
Please continue the outros in your best voice possible.
Absolutely, no problem, sir. So, Mav, aka Fun Speculation, sir. Yes, I am speaking to you. It is the word of God. Anyways, please tell everybody where they can find you and what you got going on your amazing channel, sir. I already named a couple shows, but you got more. So tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Fun Speculation on Twitter, Fun Speculation on YouTube, where we have Fun Pop tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow night. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Yes, right? Yes. Tomorrow night's Wednesday night. Fun Pop. Thursday is PM in the PM. Friday is Xbox Ultimate. And Saturday is FSP. We're bringing lots of fun stuff to you, as well as game streams and videos. Trying to do it all. Hope you guys come and check it out. Yeah.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you for being here. As always, Mav, great time to talk with you. Boxenberger coming off now the world famous Boxenberger, getting written up in multiple publications. He's doing big things as always. Past 5,000 subscribers. Box, where can everybody find you, sir? And what do you have coming up this week?
Yeah, man, thanks. I still can't believe that I hit the 5K. I can't believe that actual media outlets wrote an article about my podcast. Blew me away. So yeah, people can find me basically everywhere under Boxenberger. Of course on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, and here on YouTube, where I do have a YouTube channel. I cover different kind of topics from news, games, technology, everything that a gamer cares about on the channel. And I have a podcast over there as well called The World of Gaming, airing each Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Europe time. That's 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and 7 p.m. UK time. So that's a different format than we have here on Boom Show. I usually only have 1, maximum 2 guests on the show. So we have a little bit of more direct chat and cover a lot of different topics, not just Xbox, but everything that the world of gaming has to offer. And this week I have a special guest that I'm super excited to have. And he is right here. Mav is joining me this week,
what a great guest.
along with KSN.
I know that definitely cost you big bucks because no one makes no one's bigger than Mav. There you go. Now we're talking.
So yeah, that's going to be awesome.
That German currency, though, that's the problem, you know.
Yeah, but again, Boom, thanks for having me. And yeah, I see you guys next week.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Pong, thanks for the save, brother. Mrs. Boom never calls during the day, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, you always got to take that call.
It was good, but definitely, definitely appreciate that. Of course, Boxenberger. If you're not subscribed, I mean, he just hit 5K, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I love to see him hit 10 because he works. He's one of the hardest working guys in the business, and again, his videos, man, they're Colt Eastwood level good. So definitely get over there and check it out for sure. Mav, brother, you are.
I got Mav out of here. Mav's done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, okay. Wow, you work quick. Okay, so let's get to VJ. VJ, listen, brother, we really truly appreciate having the knowledge that you bring, specifically in the Japanese region, which we know that you have a significant amount of actual knowledge working in that region of the world. Tell everyone where they could reach out to you on social media and what else you got going on, brother.
Thanks, Boom, for having me on the show as always. I just wanted to say it was lovely to be on a show with you again, Boxenberger. It's been a while, so that's fantastic. And
likewise,
it's good to see that you're far more infamous than when we previously spoke. Maybe we shouldn't speak so often. But,
no, please.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say, Boom, I hope we put to rest, why Game Pass is at least a must try at the minimum for any avid.
I think we did. I mean, again, we don't like to feed the trolls, but I felt it was a generally asked question, and I'm glad we went into it because maybe people are still on the fence with it, but everyone had great answers.
And I just want to apologize for any ropey takes. I had a bit of a headache, and I hope I didn't offend anyone with.
No, not at all.
I just hope I didn't offend anyone with reference to snot gobbling or referring to one's squeaky bits and bobs. But anyway, I'm on midweek gaming tomorrow. I'll be on my best behavior next week. I promise, Boom. Don't kick me off. And thank you, everybody, for listening to my takes. And it's really appreciated to be a part of the show, Boom. Thank you so much.
We love having you, brother. And last and no least, Mr. Joanna Dark, thank you so much for being with us. Obviously, you represent Xbox in the best way possible with your two podcasts that you're on, Xbox International with Crazy Lou, who was in the chat, and we love that guy, especially when he gets in, dances in his underpants and t-shirts, which is always great. Crazy Lou, we love you, brother. Tell everyone where they could check you out, Mr. Joanna Dark, and more importantly, where could people strike up a conversation on social media?
Boom! I told you, don't enable Crazy Lou. He
don't feed
always
the
making
Crazy Lou
crazy stuff and referencing Pong Soul and everything. Because I mean, Pong Soul is Pong Pass. That's what we call it. Right?
You know what? I should have known what I was getting myself into with Crazy Lou when I sent him a dancing Santa shaking his rear, and then he went out and he recreated it in real life. I should have known.
As always, it's a pleasure, gentlemen, to always be around some amazing people. Pong, Boxenberger, Mav, VJ. As well, it's a pleasure back to back, even though today I had something unfortunate with work. So I, hopped in late. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at big_N_boss. And then tomorrow on Xbox International. And we're excited because we're going to have a guest that out of nowhere, we just kind of said, okay, cool. Let's do a little audible. And we're going to have Mr. Badbit talking some Horizon Forbidden West on Xbox International tomorrow on the Crazy Lou Gaming channel before they kill me.
Nice.
And then on Thursdays, you can find me myself with my coworkers and good friends, Albert and Jasmine, on the Nickel Gaming Show. So, thank you again. It was, I'm glad I was able to talk about the whole, some of the last subjects, especially with JRPGs and of course, Starfield. But as always, thank you, Boom.
It's great to have you a part of the show, dude, honestly. And big shout out to Delilah HD in the chat. Darling, welcome to the show. We definitely got to get you on the program if your schedule allows, for sure. Listen, big shout out to the 450 plus people we had here today. The show and the channel is growing. When I first started the channel, I would have never thought. I mean, we're happy to have 10 people in the chat, and now we're upwards of closing in on regularly over 400. That's not something that's easily earned, and I truly appreciate it. And of course, I want to thank all the super chats that come in. Those allow us to do the big giveaways, which we're putting money away for right now, and we intend to do a couple of them in 2022. And of course, I want to thank everyone that has become a channel member now and in the past. Those finances help us fund the things that we want to do, and we love giving away stuff to the community because of the support that we receive. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that is important to me. Hopefully one day, folks, will be important to you. And that's something that my father taught us when we were kids, and I think now more than ever, it's incredibly important and relevant. He said, son, treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.